Welcome to my channel. My name's Angela and this is Devon Thread Tales. Thanks so much for joining me today. Today I'm going to be doing an Ask Me Anything video. Over the last couple of weeks people have been sending me messages asking me lots of different questions, some sewing related and some not. So I'm going to be answering those today. I'm not going to be sharing any makes, so if that's something that you're not interested in, I won't be offended. Please don't worry and skip this video and hopefully join me next time. But if it is something that you're interested in, then listen away and I will answer the questions that have been sent. So the first question that I've been asked is, how long have I been sewing? Why did I start sewing? And what sewing machine do I use? And I've tried to group all of these questions together, so that was several people have asked me the same question. So I started sewing properly round about 2 years ago. I started because when I went into the shops I couldn't find anything that I liked to wear. So I really struggled. I found a few things which were then maybe very expensive, but I thought, I could make that myself, or I could have a go at making it myself. I had a little look online and found a Tilly and the Buttons pattern, which was the Bettine dress. Had a go at it. I bought some cotton from a local haberdashery shop, had a go at doing it, found that I was able to do it and just loved it. I just loved it from the moment that I started, and that was it. My love for sewing started, and then I found the Sewing Bee and I was watching that and just got completely inspired. Got hooked on Instagram and YouTube. So that's really how I started and how long ago I started. I did dabble a little bit with it when I was younger, but not brilliantly. My mum did a lot of sewing and knitting and I tried to do some, but I was a teenager, I was very impatient, I didn't want to finish things off properly. I just wanted the clothes that I fancied there and then. I didn't really want to go through the process of making it, so it was a bit of a shame, and I kind of wish that I'd started and stuck with it then, but I didn't, and that's life. And it's obviously sat there in the background waiting for me to unleash it again. And yeah, so that's how I've done that. The sewing machine that I use is a Husqvarna. My mum's always used Husqvarnas, and she gave me one years and years and years ago, which sat in the corner of my room not doing anything, gathering dust. And so when I did start sewing, I used that, really got used to it, and when I got to a stage that I felt I wanted to advance from it, it felt like the natural route for me to go down to get another Husqvarna, because it was something I was used to. I was used to the way that it operated and worked, and I enjoyed using it. So that's that question. I'm going to move on to the second one. So the next question is, what do I do for a job? So my husband and I own a accountancy practice, and for the large part of the last few years I've taken care of the payroll department and mainly the HR and admin of our office. We've actually employed somebody recently and they now do the majority of our payroll. I get involved with it from time to time. So I deal now mainly with our main internal accounts and bookkeeping and our administration. So I really enjoy it. I work with a fantastic team of people. They're really good fun and it's just a nice place to be. And as a bonus, I work with my husband, so I quite like that. We do seem to get on. Lots of people are very surprised when they know that we're married and we work together, but it's fine. The next question is all about time. When I sew, how much time I devote to sewing. I have to read one of these out because this made me giggle. Gaga Knits said, how do you find time? You work, you look after your family, your home looks immaculate, and you sew a lot. So I just wanted to say about my home, when I'm doing a video or I take photos on Instagram, generally all you're seeing is this little bit of my home. And yes, I am a neat freak and I do like things to be neat and tidy, but my home is far from tidy and immaculate all the time, if not any time, and I would doubt anybody's home is immaculate all the time. I try and be neat and tidy, I really do, and I get a little bit stressed when it's not, but at the end of the day it's just impossible to keep on top of everything. I like to cook, I do work, I do look after my children, but as a family we all participate in helping each other out. Sometimes it's a bit of a struggle. Sometimes I have to really muster my children to help me out. They don't always want to be willing, but as a whole, my husband and I, we We both cook, we both do the sharing of taking children to places, and actually sometimes even my children cook. So in terms of finding time to sew, I don't ever have a dedicated time that I sew. I don't say, you know, for instance, say, right, well, Monday from 7 till 9 I sew. It's not like that. I just try and sew when it is most appropriate, because it's my hobby. And there are times when I say, right, I'm not doing anything else now, I'm going to have some time to myself, I'm going to sew. But the rest of the time, it's normally I like to get my house sorted out first, or the tea cooked, or the children sorted out, or spend some time with them, and then I will devote some time to sewing. Some weeks I sew loads and some weeks I don't. So I don't have a preferred time to sew. I don't like to sew first thing in the morning, but generally I just sew when I can, and some weeks that's several hours and some weeks it's not at all. So the next question is all about my children. First of all, how many children do I have? I have 3. I have a 19-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a very soon to be 16-year-old. They're all girls, Katie, Amy and Ellen. I love them very much, obviously. And they're good as gold. And I've had a few questions about my children. So do you ever sew with your children? So I don't particularly sew with them. They don't all share my love of sewing. They dabble in it a little bit, and they do a bit here and there. My middle daughter has tried a bit of patchworking, I think that's what you call it, patchworking, and my youngest has had a little go at sewing clothes, and we will do that together if and when she does that. And somebody else has said one of your daughters is a very talented knitter. She is. Who taught her, and where does she get her inspiration from? And any tips for encouraging children to enjoy crafts? So she got taught to knit really by my husband's mum, her grandmother. And she really enjoys knitting. She has taken to it like I can't believe, well, I guess a little bit like I like knitting, sewing. She loves knitting, and she just knits all the time, and it's really quite funny. So in terms of her inspiration, she really looks at different knitting websites like Ravelry, I think it is, and she follows a few people on Instagram, and she gets her inspiration from there. She also just looks at general fashion and decides on what kind of style of something that she wants to knit, and then tries to find those patterns. In terms of how do I encourage my children, I have never said to my girls, oh, you've got to sew or you've got to knit. I've said to them that I'd love it if they did, but I think anything that they do, they see how much I love doing what I do and what joy that brings me. And that then transpires into their own interests. So there may be times when we sit together and we're all doing something quiet together and craft like, or something along those lines. So for instance, I might sew and my other daughter might knit, and my youngest daughter's really into painting. She'll sit and paint. She's doing GCSE art, or was doing GCSE art, so she'll quite happily do that. My eldest daughter, when she's home from uni, she might just read or do some work. She's really really into her work, her university work, and loves that. She's doing all about linguistics, so finds that very fascinating. I would say I really don't think you should ever force your children to do the things that you love. If you love what you do, encourage your children to love what they do, because they'll get good at that and enjoy that, and it doesn't have to be the same thing as you. It might be a craft, but it might not be. So I don't really have any tips for that, because I don't really feel like I've ever encouraged my children. I just encourage them in what they're interested in. So I hope that kind of makes sense. I'm really sorry about this light. I've been moving around, and as I'm videoing, the light's changing as I'm going, so I feel like I'm getting darker and lighter. Anyway, I'll go on to my next question. let's try this. Hopefully the light might be a bit better here. So my next question, which is from Liz Bentley, I think that's how you say her name. Do you have a dedicated sewing room or space, or do you use the dining room table? So I used to use my dining room table and it was a real pain. I'm very lucky. I don't have a sewing room, but I do have a corner of a room, and my husband very kindly bought me a cheap little desk that I've got my sewing machine and my overlocker on, and I store my fabric just in boxes, or actually mainly under a bed, and I just use that little corner. So when I finish sewing and maybe we've got tea to have, etc., I don't have to quickly, pack it all away. The only time it does become a little bit of a pain is I use the dining room table to do my cutting out on. I find it really hurts my back to cut out on the floor, so I generally use the table to do that. And because it's a pain, I try and cut out more than one project at a time, so it just gets it done, and then I can pack it away for a couple more weeks. So I hope that's answered that question. This is a really difficult question. So I made one, asked me, what is your favourite quality of each of your daughters? That's such a hard question, and I very nearly didn't answer it because I thought, how am I going to answer that? So my eldest daughter, Katie, she is the kindest, loveliest girl you could ever wish to meet. She is friendly, she is kind, she just always listens. She always tries to help you or help somebody, whoever it is that she's around. And in fact, she's been sort of awarded things at her university. I think somebody did some sort of anonymous little tag for her, and it was all about how kind she is. And it's true, she's very, very kind. She will always put somebody else before her, and it's such a wonderful attribute for her to have. She is really, really kind. She has many other lovely qualities, but that's definitely my favourite one of hers. My middle daughter, again, very kind and very caring. In fact, all three of my girls are. They are good as gold. But my middle daughter, she has a quality that I admire. It's not my favourite quality. When she sets her mind to something, boy, does she set her mind to something, and nothing will persuade her from doing anything other than what she has her mind set on. Think it's going to set her up really well in life, but it does sometimes cause some problems, as you can imagine. But my favourite quality of hers, and this is Amy I'm talking about, my middle daughter, is that she has got a very, very quick wit, and she comes out with the funniest one-liners or a really funny face to just melt a situation or lighten a situation. She's just really, really funny, and she's always had that even since she was very, very little. And I think she just realizes that she's got it, and she's just quick as a flash to come out with these one-liners, and I love that about her. My youngest daughter, Ellen, again, very kind, and again has many attributes that I absolutely adore about her. But I think the thing about her that I admire more than anything is that she has a real distaste for unfairness, and that can be sort of globally or, very personally. If she sees some sort of injustice and doesn't like it, she's very quick to stand up for somebody, and it's such an amazing thing. Even if it puts her in an awkward position, if she thinks somebody's being treated unfairly, she's very quick to stand up and put that person right, or at least stand up and safeguard that person that she feels is not being treated fairly. So I think that's really wonderful of her. But they're all really good girls. They're all pain in the bum as well, as all children are. I don't want to paint this picture that I've got these wonderful children. Of course I think they're wonderful because, they're my children. But they have all of the annoying things that go on with kids as well, like they don't tidy their rooms up or what have you. But anyway, so that's a really good question. So thank you for that. And I'm going to answer the next one. So lots of people have asked me, do I have a favourite type of garment or fabric to sew with, or a favourite gadget that I have for sewing? This is a really difficult question to answer. In terms of garment, no, I think that changes season by season or even month by month. I might decide that I really like, a pair of trousers, or I like a skirt or a top, or at the moment I love dresses, but that won't always be the case. In terms of fabric to sew with, I do like sewing with jersey and knit fabric. I just think it's very, very easy. It's very versatile. It's incredibly easy to fit, and it's actually really comfortable to wear. But I really enjoy knitting. I really enjoy sewing with woven fabrics. I quite like a top stitching session on which is going to be on show. I quite like sewing things a little bit more fitted, which would obviously be more of a woven fabric. So I don't really have a favourite fabric to sew with. I think it really, it's really 50-50. And in terms of a garment, I hope that answers that. Yeah, very much I go from week to week or month to month in which sort of garment that I prefer to either wear or sew, etc. So Sewing Snippets has said to me, I waste time trying to decide what to make. How do you prioritise your makes? So this is a really good question, because when I first started sewing, I used to waste an awful lot of time just watching YouTube videos going, I'm going to sew, I'm going to sew, I'm going to sew, and then buying fabric and buying patterns because I was watching the YouTube videos or looking at Instagram and things like that. And it got to a point where it really was that collecting fabric and collecting patterns was more a hobby than sewing was. And I think as time's gone on, I've realised that the actual production of a garment from the very start to finish is far more joyous than just watching all the time. And I've actually cut back on quite a bit of the amount that I watch on YouTube, and I've cut back a little bit on how much I look at Instagram as well. But I think in terms of prioritising what I actually sew or what I'm going to make for myself, really it's about looking at what I have in my wardrobe, and if I really thought, I really fancy XYZ, and I would normally go out and buy that, which I haven't really bought anything for a couple of years now, it would just be about, right, okay, that's the sort of garment I want to wear and I'd like to make. So let's just say, for instance, I would like to make a dress and I want a jersey dress. So I might go on to something like the Fold line to look at dresses that are made with jersey, and I'll search through those. Then I'll get together a few dresses that I like and I'll write down the numbers or the details of them, and then I'll go to Instagram and look specifically for those, and I'll have a look at reviews on them as well, or people's blog posts, or even sometimes YouTube tutorials for those. And I find that really helps me make a decision on whether I think a garment or a pattern is what I want to sew and whether it will suit me. I have started recently putting in my body measurements on my videos because I realised that a couple of other people had done that, and I find that really, really useful. And looking at somebody that might be a similar body shape to me and they're sewing a dress or garment that is what I would like to sew, is really useful then to say, is that going to suit me? I like the way they look, or I'm not sure that's the style I like, etc. So I hope that helps with that one. I have a couple more questions. Where do I buy my fabric from, and do I have another hobby other than sewing, or favourite hobby other than sewing? So I buy my fabric from lots and lots of different places. There are probably too many to mention, and I don't want to mention some and then miss some out, but I will always go to a fabric store that I've had really great service from, and I will first of all look for the fabric type that I'm after, and also obviously the quality of the service. I think that it's really important to try and support local and small businesses, so I do try and do that. However, I do buy quite a few things and get gifted some things from Minerva because I'm one of their bloggers. So there are such a lot of people out there, and I don't really want to name one or two and forget some. But it's all the ones that you hear from quite a lot of the time. So the last question is my favourite hobby other than sewing. So I don't really have a favourite hobby other than sewing, if I'm absolutely honest. I just love it so much. I used to be a triathlete and I used to train a lot for that. I used to train for about 12 to 15 hours a week doing that. So that really was my hobby. That has really subsided. I found it too much after sort of 4 or 5 years of doing that. It just got to a point where I just couldn't keep it up anymore. But I do still like to try and keep fit, not to the extent that I did, and it's a bit of a shame because, well, I quite like eating biscuits and cake. And when I trained that much, it didn't matter, and now it does. But other than that, I like to cook. I love spending time with my family. I love a nice nature walk, which makes me sound very old-fashioned, but I do. But really, sewing is my absolute passion. And yeah, I don't think anything comes quite as close to it, certainly at the moment, but maybe in time that may change. I really hope that you guys have found this interesting. I'm sorry about the lighting and changing where I'm sitting and everything, so I hope that's all been okay. I'll try and pop this up as quick as I can onto YouTube for you guys to watch. But if you're interested in anything else, then please do give me a shout. I will be putting a makes video up at the end of April. I know this is a really difficult time at the moment for everybody, and it's a very strange time that we're in, but I just want to say I hope everybody is staying safe. I hope everybody's staying well, and I'm sure we'll be out of this soon. So take care everybody, and I'll see you all again soon. Take care. Bye.